Hi, third graders. It's Mrs. DeBeer teaching from the camper classroom again. Today's story is Life in the Tide Pool by Mary Mackey. It is expository text. That means that it is nonfiction. It's a true story. You're going to learn something today. Life in a tide pool. Let's see if you can see the words right along with me. A Changing World. Chapter 1. What lives on a rocky beach? There are mussels and snails. Crabs hide under rocks. Sea anemones move their tentacles in the water. Ocean water covers the land twice each day. Then the water goes out. Small pools are left behind in the rocks. A tide pool is always changing. The pools of water are called tide pools. Tide pools are habitats for plants and animals. A habitat is where they live. It is a plant's or animal's environment. Crabs live in tide pools. Tide pool habitats have different zones. Low tide zone is usually underwater. Next is the mid zone. It is dry twice a day at low tide. High tide zone is covered with water at high tide. Last is the splash zone. It is mostly dry. Some water splashes into it at high tide. Stop and check. What does the tide do twice a day? Tide pools change as the tide goes in and out. Tide zones. There's the splash zone, high tide zone, mid zone, low tide zone, and then all the animals or creatures that you can find at the different zones. Chapter 2. Living in tide pools. Tide pools always change. Animals living there have features to help them survive. These features are adaptations. Sea anemones' tentacles open when pools have water. Sea anemones catch fish this way. When pools are dry, sea anemones close their tentacles. Sea anemones and their tentacles. Closed tentacles. Open tentacles. Barnacles, limpets, and mussels live in the splash zone. This zone is dry and sunny. These animals have shells for shelter and protection. They store food in their shells. They store water too. Hard shells protect barnacles, limpets, and mussels from sun. Stop and check. How do tide pool animals use their shells? Sea slugs are hard to see. Sea slugs live in mid and low tide zones. Their adaptations protect them from sun and waves. They shrink their soft bodies. This makes them smaller. Then they hide between rocks. Sea slugs hide from predators that hunt them. They are brown. They look like rocks. Sea urchins and sea stars are from the same family. They are related. They both have sticky tube feet. Sea urchins only eat plants. They have hard teeth. They scrape plants from rocks using their teeth. Sea stars are predators. They eat other animals. The orange sea star and purple sea urchin are related. The ways animals act can be adaptations. Many tide pool animals fool predators. Some crabs hide in sand, some cover themselves with seaweed. Mussels live in groups. This helps them stay safe. Sandcastle worms also live in groups. Seaweed covering the shell of a crab. Sandcastle worms live together. They catch food with their tentacles. Sandcastle worms make a special glue. They use this to build their home. Each worm glues pieces of shell together in a tube. Many tubes join to make one big home. A sandcastle worm and its tentacles. Stop and check. What are some adaptations that tide pool animals have? Chapter 3. Tide pool predators. Many tide pool animals are predators. They eat other animals. There is competition for food. Sea stars are predators. Their bodies help them catch prey. Sea stars eat shellfish, such as mussels. Sea stars have suction cups on their feet. These sticky tube feet help sea stars open mussel shells. Sea stars hold and open mussels using their sticky feet. A sticky tube foot mussel. An octopus is a predator. It prefers to live in the low tide zone. It eats crabs, snails, and clams. An octopus has a soft body. It can hide in narrow cracks. It hides by changing colors, too. The octopus stays alert. It grabs its prey with its tentacles. An octopus hides by changing colors. It is good to visit tide pools. Some people study them. Be careful if you visit a tide pool. Leave it just as you found it. Stop and check. What are predators? People should treat tide pools with care. That end. Third graders, I hope you enjoyed the story today and learned something. See you again later. Sending big hugs. Bye-bye.